Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to understanding today's key developments, especially curated for your UPSC preparation.
And today we're diving into the current affairs for April 19th, 2025, Part 1.
We've lined up some important updates from various sources. Some might be new, others might be a useful bit of revision on things we've perhaps touched on before.
That's right. The aim, as always, is to break these down, pull out the core knowledge, and hopefully connect some dots for your UPSC journey.
Exactly. Those aha moments. Okay, let's dive right in.
That's good.
First up, something on animal welfare. It seems the Trump administration's policy changes aiming to end animal testing are getting support from PETA.
Yes, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. And for UPSC aspirants, understanding NGOs like PETA, their role, their influence, it's quite important.
What makes them so significant in this context?
Well, for starters, they're the world's largest animal rights organization, based in the U.S., but, global reach. When they back or oppose a policy, it makes waves.
And they've been around a while, haven't they? Since the 80s.
Exactly. Founded in 1980. And their whole philosophy is rooted in opposing what they call speciesism.
Speciesism, the idea that humans are superior.
Precisely. They argue against that worldview, which often justifies animal exploitation. Thinkers like Peter Singer were influential there, so their support for ending testing fits right into that core belief.
So it's not just about awareness, they're quite active.
Oh, very. Public education, investigations into cruelty, lobbying for legislation, rescuing animals, even negotiating directly with companies. It's a multi-pronged approach.
So for UPSC, the takeaway is understanding how these NGOs operate, their ethical frameworks, and their impact on policy and, well, society.
Exactly. And how social movements evolve, too. They started focusing on labs. Now it's much broader: food industry, clothing, entertainment.
Okay. Let's shift focus now to maritime security.
Yeah.
News about Operation ATALANTA.
Yes. The EU Naval Force, UNIV-4. They've proposed a joint naval exercise with the Indian Navy.
A joint exercise. Sounds significant. More than just a standard passage exercise.
That's the indication. They're planning it for around late May this year, 2025, Western Indian Ocean and the Red Sea region.
Why the step up in cooperation?
Yeah.
Piracy.
That seems to be a major driver, yes. There's been a bit of a resurgence of piracy off the Horn of Africa, and it's potentially linked to the wider instability caused by Houthi activity in the Red Sea.
Right. Even if recent incident numbers dipped slightly, the underlying risks persist, especially with those vital trade routes.
Exactly. So better coordination is needed. And Operation ATALANTA itself, it's got history in the region.
It started back in 2008, mainly against Somali pirates, right?
Primarily, yes. But its mandate has really broadened over the years. Now it's protecting World Food Program ships, monitoring the Somalia arms embargo, tackling drug and weapons trafficking, IU fishing.
IUU, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing.
Correct. And even disrupting the illegal charcoal trade. So its scope is quite wide now.
So for UPSC, understanding the evolving mandates of these kinds of international missions, like ATALANTA, is key for IR and security topics.
Absolutely. And this proposed exercise really highlights that international cooperation aspect in maritime security, particularly the EU's role in the Indian Ocean alongside India.
Okay, let's move from the seas to our power grids. Vehicle-to-grid technology, V2G. There's a pilot project in Kerala.
Yes, a collaboration between the Kerala State Electricity Board, KSEB, and IIT Bombay. It's quite an exciting development in the energy space.
So V2G. What exactly does it let EVs do?
Well, essentially, it allows electric vehicles, when they're parked and plugged in, to not just draw power from the grid, but to send stored electricity back to the grid.
Ah, so the car battery acts like a mini power source.
Precisely. Think of idle EVs as a decentralized network of batteries. It enables two-way energy flow. You have the usual grid-to-vehicle G2V for charging.
Which can be managed with smart charging and time-of-use tariffs, I suppose.
Exactly, to manage the load. But the really interesting part is the vehicle-to-grid, V2G, where the batteries discharge power back, maybe during peak demand hours, or when renewable output is low.
So EVs become distributed energy resources, helping stabilize the grid.
That's the huge potential, supporting grid stability, helping integrate more renewables like solar and wind, which are intermittent. It's a key part of developing smarter, more resilient grids.
And this is getting global attention.
Oh, yes. While you also hear about V2H, vehicle-to-home, and V2V, vehicle-to-vehicle, V2G is probably the most explored globally for its grid-level benefits. Definitely relevant for sustainable development and infrastructure topics in UPSC.
Right. Okay, next up, an environmental policy issue. Flue gas desulfurization, FGD. There's a study suggesting maybe rolling back the mandate for installing it.
Yes, a study for the principal scientific advisor. It's questioning the 2015 policy that required FGD systems in all, I think it was 537 coal-fired power plants in India.
So first, what exactly is FGD?
FGD is basically a technology, a set of systems designed to scrub sulfur compounds, mainly sulfur dioxide or SO2, from the exhaust fumes, the flue gas of power plants.
Why is that necessary?
Because fossil fuels, especially coal, contain sulfur. When you burn it, that sulfur gets released as SO2, which is a major air pollutant.
And SO2 causes acid rain, respiratory issues.
Both, yes. It's harmful to breathe, and it's a primary precursor to acid rain, which damages ecosystems, water bodies, forests, buildings, you name it. Some Indian coal can have up to 4% sulfur, and these plants burn thousands of tons daily.
So FGD removes the SO2. How effectively?
Pretty effectively. Systems can remove up to 95% of the SO2. They use various chemical absorbents.
What kind of methods?
The main one for large plants is the wet process, usually wet limestone scrubbing. The flue gas is essentially sprayed with a mixture, a slurry of water and crushed limestone.
And the limestone reacts with the SO2.
Exactly. It bonds chemically, trapping the sulfur instead of releasing it into the atmosphere. So mandating FGD was seen as a vital step for cleaner air and environment. The current debate involves the cost and implementation timelines versus the environmental benefits.
A complex balancing act. Definitely crucial for the environment part of the syllabus.
Absolutely. Understanding the tech and the policy debate is key.
Okay, let's circle back to maritime issues. The International Maritime Bureau, IMB, they've reported a recent rise in piracy incidents.
Yes. In the first quarter of 2025, they noted an increase in both piracy and armed robbery against ships.
And the IMB, what's their specific role? They're part of the ICC, right?
Correct. It's a specialized, nonprofit division of the International Chamber of Commerce, set up back in 1981. Their main job is to combat maritime crime, fraud, malpractice, and especially piracy.
How do they do that?
They act as a central hub for information sharing between governments, shipping companies, law enforcement. They run the Piracy Reporting Center in Kuala Lumpur.
What does that center do?
It operates 247. Issues daily status reports, alerts ships about incidents via satellite safety nets, reports attacks to law enforcement and the IMO, helps coordinate responses, assists crews after attacks. A whole range of services.
Are these services widely available?
The reporting and alert services are free to all ships, which is quite important. They do offer some chargeable services too, like helping locate hijacked ships or recover stolen cargo and preparing specific reports.
And they have official recognition.
Yes. The UN's International Maritime Organization, the IMO, encourages cooperation with the IMB. They also have observer status with Interpol. They even offer mediation for maritime disputes.
So a key player in maritime security governance. Important for UPSC aspirants to know their function.
Definitely. Their work directly impacts global trade security.
Okay, changing tack completely. Dal Lake in Srinagar, there was an incident with a shikara.
Yes, unfortunately. A tourist shikara overturned apparently due to strong winds. Thankfully, reports say that people were rescued, but it does bring the lake itself into focus.
And for UPSC geography, Dal Lake is quite iconic, isn't it?
It absolutely is. A mid-altitude urban lake right in Srinagar, surrounded by the Pir Panjal Mountains, hugely important for tourism and recreation. They call it the jewel in the crown of Kashmir, or Srinagar's jewel.
Also Lake of Flowers.
That too. Its shoreline is famous for the Mughal gardens, houseboats, hotels. It's really integral to Srinagar's identity.
What about its size and features? Is it very deep?
Not incredibly deep. Average depth is around 5 feet, maximum about 20 feet. It covers roughly 18 square kilometers, part of a larger natural wetland area.
And it has those famous floating gardens.
Yes, the Rod in Kashmiri. You see lotus blossoms there in summer. The lake itself is divided by causeways into basins: Gagrabal, Lokot Dal, Bod Dal, and Nagin.
Nagin is sometimes considered separate, I think.
That's right. And there are islands, too, like Charchinari on Lokot Dal. And, of course, the floating market is a unique feature.
So, key takeaway for UPSC. Its location, features, cultural and economic significance in Jammu and Kashmir.
Precisely, an important landmark.
Now, from a famous lake to the deep ocean, the Colossal Squid, first ever footage of it swimming freely.
Yes, quite amazing news for marine biology. Scientists managed to capture footage of Mesomicoteuthis hamiltoni in its natural Antarctic habitat. We've known about it for almost a century, but seeing it live like this is a first.
And it lives up to the name Colossal, right?
Oh, definitely. Believed to be the largest invertebrate on Earth. can reach maybe 7 meters, that's around 23 feet, and weigh up to 500 kilos.
Wow. And it lives where exactly?
In the really deep, icy waters of the Southern Ocean down near Antarctica. Very elusive.
What are its key features besides size?
Well, it's a soft-bodied cephalopod, like an octopus or other squid, but bulkier, tube-shaped body. What's really distinctive are its eyes, the largest known in the animal kingdom, probably for seeing in the extreme dark.
And it has hooks, not just suckers.
Yes, sharp, swiveling hooks on its tentacles, which is quite unique. Adults are a deep red or purplish color.
And its conservation status, despite being so rarely seen.
Interestingly, it's listed as least concern on the IUCN Red List, probably due to its remote deep-sea habitat being less impacted, perhaps.
Fascinating stuff. A great example of marine biodiversity for the UPSC syllabus.
Absolutely. Shows how much we still have to discover in the oceans.
Okay, let's travel even further now to Mars. NASA's Curiosity rover. A discovery about carbon.
Yes, a really significant finding. Curiosity has found carbon-bearing minerals, providing the first solid evidence that Mars might have or have had a carbon cycle.
Curiosity. That's the big rover, landed in 2012.
That's the one. Part of the Mars Science Laboratory mission. Famous for that sky crane landing. It's nuclear-powered, about the size of a small car, packed with instruments.
And its goal is basically looking for signs of past life and understanding Mars geology.
Correct. And preparing for eventual human exploration, too. This discovery was made in Gale Crater, in what seems to be an ancient lake bed.
What exactly did it find?
It identified a mineral called siderite in sulfate-rich rocks. Siderite is a carbonate mineral, meaning it contains carbon and oxygen locked together. Finding it there is a first for Mars.
And what does finding siderite imply?
Well, the rocks had quite a bit, 5 to 10% siderite. It suggests that maybe a good chunk of Mars's early, thicker CO2 atmosphere got trapped in the crust as carbonate minerals like this.
So the carbon didn't just disappear, it got locked away.
Possibly. And there's more. They also found iron oxyhydroxides, which hints that maybe the siderite later dissolved in acidic water, releasing some CO2 back into the atmosphere.
Ah, so that's the cycle part. CO2 trapped, then potentially released.
Exactly. It suggests a past carbonate cycle, though likely a very limited, slow one compared to Earth's. But it's the first solid evidence, hugely important for planetary science and the search for past Martian habitability.
Definitely a key development for S&T awareness for the exam.
No doubt.
Right, back down to earth for our next topic. Conservation. The International Big Cat Alliance, IBCA. India is now officially its headquarters.
Yes, the formal agreement has been signed between the IBCA and the Government of India. This establishes India as the host country for the alliance's headquarters and secretariat.
This alliance was launched relatively recently, wasn't it?
It was, proposed by PM Modi in April 2023, marking 50 years of Project Tiger. The Union Cabinet gave it the green light in February 2024.
And the goal is conserving. Which big cats?
7 major species globally: tiger, lion, leopard, snow leopard, puma, jaguar, and cheetah. It aims to bring together range countries and other interested nations.
Who's implementing it within India?
The National Tiger Conservation Authority, the NTCA, under the Environment Ministry.
And who are the current members who've ratified it?
India, of course, plus Nicaragua, Eswatini, Somalia, and Liberia were the initial ratifiers that allowed it to become a formal treaty-based intergovernmental body. But membership is open to all UN states.
And India's providing funding, too.
Yes, a significant commitment. 150 crore over 5 years, from 2023 to 2028, for the Corpus Fund, infrastructure, and running costs.
So for UPSC, this showcases India's leadership in global conservation efforts and international environmental cooperation.
Absolutely. It's a major initiative focused on conserving some of the world's most charismatic and endangered species. Understanding its structure and aims is important.
Okay, our final topic for this dive takes us back to space. The James Webb Space Telescope, JWST. Potential signs of life on an exoplanet.
Yes, this is really intriguing, though still tentative, as you say. The JWST has provided data suggesting possible signs of extraterrestrial life on an exoplanet called K2-18b.
K2-18b, where's that?
It's about 124 light-years away in the constellation Leo, and JWST, just to recap, is that massive observatory at the L2 point.
Exactly. Launched in late 2021, a collaboration between NASA, ESA, and the Canadian Space Agency. It observes mainly in infrared, which is ideal for looking through cosmic dust and studying exoplanet atmospheres.
So what did it detect in K2-18b's atmosphere?
A research team from Cambridge University analyzed the JWST data and found chemical signatures of dimethyl sulfide, DMS, and also possibly time-methyl disulfide, DMDS.
DMS, isn't that produced by life on Earth?
That's precisely why this is so exciting. On Earth, DMS and related compounds are overwhelmingly produced by biological sources, particularly marine phytoplankton and some bacteria. Finding them on an exoplanet is highly suggestive.
Especially if the levels are high.
Reports suggest the detected DMS levels are thousands of times greater than Earth's average. Of course, more research is needed to confirm it's definitely biological and not some unknown geological or chemical process.
But still, it's a very strong hint.
It's perhaps the strongest biosignature hint we've had so far from an exoplanet atmosphere. It really highlights the power of JWST for astrobiology. For UPSC, this is cutting-edge science, pushing the boundaries of our search for life beyond Earth.
Truly fascinating. Makes you wonder what else is out there.
Absolutely. It really does. Okay, that brings us to the end of this deep dive for April 19th, 2025, Part 1.
We've covered quite a range: animal welfare, maritime security, energy tech, environment, space exploration.
All aimed at giving you a concise yet comprehensive update for your UPSC preparation. We really hope you found this exploration valuable.
And if you did find it insightful, please do consider liking this and subscribing for more focused analyses like this one.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe take a moment to think about some of these topics further. What could the discovery on K2-18b mean for our understanding of life? Or, closer to home, that tricky balance between environmental rules like FGD and economic factors.
Good points for reflection. There's always more to consider beyond the headlines.
Keep diving deeper in your studies. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.